All right. Good afternoon, VV Nation. Happy Monday, everybody. First order of business. If you can see me, if you can hear me, let me know. Joey. Oh, there we go. Pennywise, VV Nation. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Give everyone just a moment. Make their way into the room here. The alert should be hitting in just a moment. I will say I do have Glenn update today. I got to see him this weekend. It was a beautiful experience. And while we're waiting on everybody, just put in, some beautiful experience you might have had this weekend, because I know it's probably not the market today. Well, I had a good trade today. I'll let you guys know if you guys want to know that as well. All right. The alert. Let me check my phone, just make sure. Good at stocks, not best at technology, unfortunately. Oh, there it goes. Just hit. Cool. We'll give everyone just a second to make their way in. Perfect. But yes, I've got a Glenn update. I've got a video of Glenn. I got photos of Glenn. I see all yellow across the color guard. Oh, yeah. Yeah, all yellow. Pennywise, that's not why I'm excited today, or those yellows, unfortunately. I talked about it Friday. That little midday optimism we saw. If my memory's correct, I think it was, the 50 and 40-day moving average, a little pivot we saw there on some of the major indices. I know we were looking at the Qs and the SPY for sure. I think VectorVest Composite wasn't too far from that, but we can take a look at those for sure today. But again, Glenn update today. I got video. I got photos. Seeing Glenn's photos of him at the Christmas party. Yes, Ken. So yes, it is on the VV Nation Facebook page. I did not buy it. Good. Naughty. I'm glad you didn't buy that little dip Friday, because unless you're a little day trader, that dip would have worked out pretty well. Japan carry trade unwinding may happen soon. Yes, Pennywise are referring to the cheap money from Japan, right? Low interest rates. I think the problem is, yes, the interest rates are on the rise there. You need to watch out where you stick your fingers. Yes, you do, especially this finger right here. That was from polishing a glass at the restaurant on Sunday, unfortunately. All right, so let's get to it here. Before we get into the market, Ryan, what's the story on Iren? Why so bullish? Well, we could talk about that, David, but before, you better watch the whole video, because I said that thing was going to drop, right? And it dropped today. I got no crystal ball, but clearly I want the trade to come to me. So first of all, Santa must be on holiday this year. Well, I think the elves might be boycotting Christmas, right? Hopefully the kids get their presents still. Doesn't look like the adults are going to get too much out of the Santa rally. We'll see, right? We're still at that pivot point, so I haven't given up on it quite yet. Primary wave is still up, so that's some optimism here. BSR 0.7, price at 77.50. So yes, not the healthiest, but we're still a little slow grind to the upside. All right, here it is. Let me click on this first one here. All right, look at this. There we go. Drag this over. Oh, Joey, actually, we will need to go to the other scene. I didn't even think about that. Oh, I need to move this out of your way too, Joey. 1 second. Oh, okay. Thank you. All right, we'll give it just a second here. Joey's going to switch us over. There we go. There's that handsome devil. All right, let me expand this out. I'll zoom more in on Glenn than me. I don't know if I can pick an area, but look at that. He's looking good. I mean, the spirit was amazing. More like Gremlins. I love it, right? I love it. We can talk about sound, because that's going to be part of today's live stream. I want those troubled AI stocks. Talked about it last week. Be careful on the ones that are overvalued, right? Be careful on the ones overvalued. All right, let me close this one here. And then I do have a cute video. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear the sound, but the sound, it's Aerosmith. Was it I Don't Want to Miss a Thing, Baby? Let me drag this over real quick. There we go. Look at that. He's dancing. He's smiling. That is the Glenn I love to see. And if you guys didn't know Glenn, if you're new to the channel, I mean, this is the guy who taught me everything. I've only been doing this 2 years. He was doing this way before me. It's probably why he had to jump on that UAMY, which he was right. It didn't do nothing for years, because that was about 5 years ago he did that video. That was just a short, let's see here. I think this is the other one. So hit that like, hit the heart, give it out for Glenn. Oh man, that's his wife. If you don't already know, she is just the most sweetest, loving lady on the planet. What will we get Glenn's top 10 for 2026? Well, A Fox, me and Joey have the list. Joey and I do have the list. Learned a lot from Glenn. Me too. Man, Ollie G, I'm telling you right now, Glenn, he's a little firecracker, but that man could give some great analysis. And again, he took me under his wing. So most of what I do, it's pretty much learned from him. Steve Chappell, Jerry D'Ambrosio, obviously Dr. Toledo, even the greats, Dr. David Paul. That's who molded my mind. Glad he's dancing and smiling. I wish him many more dances. Thank you, Kara. Before we move on, I will say I do have some of his picks. One of his picks is a stock that we talk about on this channel. Well, recently I've mentioned an opportunity coming to fruition, and when I saw that stock in his picks, tonight's video, this week's videos, we got some killer ones. Third 2026 pick is tonight. That's going to be my third pick, right? And it's a monster of a company. It is a monster of a company. I don't want to give too much about it, but I will say it doesn't matter. Team NVIDIA, Team Broadcom, Team Amazon, they're all using this company. They're all using this company. If you already know that little secret, it's not that much of a secret, but if you already know what I'm talking about, don't put it in the comments section. Tonight's presentation is going to be a good one. And later this week, I will be giving one of those Glenn picks. Ryan, were you able to spend time with Dr. D at all? Yes. Dr. D. That is one of the coolest dudes I have ever met in my life. You think Glenn's a firecracker. Dr. Toledo, he's a straight shooter. That's why I like him. That's why I respect him. He is just incredibly smart, obviously. We're still using his indicator. His valuation, that MTI, I use that, every day, even if I'm not doing a live stream. Trust me, I'm looking at those two items for sure. All right, now let's move forward here. What do we got in the market today? Major indices down, right? A little bit of pressure there. Just give you a heads up here. Did a little Q trade today. This is what we see here, right? We see descending channel out of the gate, right? Had a meeting this morning. Had some other things going on this morning. Yeah, I probably could have, made a hefty paycheck in that descending channel. I decided to play the break today. See a little break in the descending channel. A couple retests here. Let's zoom in a little bit. See what the market's doing. Ryan, let's see here. I love the VectorVest team. Thank you for that, Ollie G. I have a feeling the materials, healthcare, and energy will do better in 2026. I think penny-wise, we're already starting to see the broadening. What was it, last week? Where NASDAQ was under pressure and the Dow Jones was up 600, the Russell hitting new highs. I think we're seeing that broaden, right? Micron, MU. Micron's tomorrow's video. Heads up. We got earnings Wednesday. We're going to talk about that as well. So this is the trade here. Broke the descending channel. Loaded up on 6 call options of the 615. 1 test, 2 test. I sold here. This is my little target area. Why did I have a target here, right? Well, look at this. We had a high. We had a touch from the top, touch from the bottom, gave me a perfect zone here. Out of those 6 contracts, I let 2 of them go here, right? Probably should have let more of them go. But by here, we broke this trend line. That's where I let the remaining 4 go. Still up 40% on the trade here. The only reason why I let this much room go towards the end of that trade is because you can see the volatility is ticking up here. I had a little bit of a line up here from before. But we didn't get that, right? We didn't get that much at all. So if we do get a back half rally, probably going to, hit a couple stops for our intraday day traders over the next 30 minutes. We might get a second half rally, but with the sentiment in the market right now and what I'm seeing on the color guard, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not sold on it, but we'll see. If we get a little touch here, if we get another break, we might get a touch, retest this trend line from the bottom here. So if we break 613, it looks like this prior swing high. If you're a day trader, you might be able to squeeze out a couple bucks here up on the upside. I made 230 on a put. Very happy. Thank you, Care. Okay, so we're going to do a couple polls, you could say. Joey, we're going to start the first poll. First poll is, because Joey, Clay, the team here, we want your feedback. Do you guys like hearing about these options trades, these intraday trades, things like that? Joey, will you start that poll? Because if all of you say no, I'm not going to keep doing it, right? I'm not going to keep doing it. But this is a disciplined investor, right? If you're going to learn day trade options, you better stick to the plan. And the plan was we broke this trend line, canceled out of it, right? Yeah, it might come back. Who knows, right? Yes, 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 yes. Okay, there it is. There's the poll coming. Do you like the option trades? All right. Just let me know. I know not everyone's in there. And I'm not even saying this, you don't have to day trade options, right? But this is just chart reading. This is intraday chart reading, right? This is intraday chart reading. So from here, obviously I got 200 moving averages, but realistically, we'll see what happens at the back half, but that's the trade, right? That was a trade. This morning, if we just look at it this morning, that descending channel was easy to point out. See the high out of the morning, dropped, retest, came back, right? So I got 2 touches here, 2 touches from the top, and breaking the 200. Well, what happened? Broke the 200, came back, retest from the bottom, right? Tell you guys that, and gals. Sorry, if I always say guys, we'll just say gender neutral. That's just how I talk. Yeah, I'm thinking to invest more into space companies. Okay. So yes, 83%. So that, it just depends if you're an investor, whatnot. But you see the cues here getting pinched on these major moving average. Let me get rid of the 3 and 8 because that's not going to be too much of importance right now. Let's go to 3-month chart. Still bottom wicks here. Again, just feeling the pressure, not getting quite the pivot, right? Now, if we start to pivot off of this and get that Santa rally, not going to be that shocked, right? But we get much more pressure below this. Sorry, what I got here? 40-day even. No, that's not even the right one. Remove item. In case you want to know how to add a moving average, just simply right-click, go to add moving average, go to simple. Simple. And then we'll do 40. There it is. Yep. Still trying to catch these moving averages here. We'll see. But they're getting pinched together, right? You see that pinch happening? I've got the 20-day EMA. Let me get rid of our value here. And I've got a 40-day, regular moving average, right? So we're trying to catch that. Hopefully we can. The last thing we want is a break in it, like we saw before, and retesting from the top, right? That is not what you want to see as a bull right now. What about those who aren't guys or gals? There could be in between. I'm not going down that route, Tabula. You're not trapping me today. Yeah, I think they solved the energy problem. You are in Carolina. Y'all can say y'all. That's true. I guess I could say y'all. How are y'all doing today? How are y'all doing today? Right? How are y'all doing today? All right, but that's where I see you the cues. Just take a look. Before we get into these other stocks, let's do VectorVest Composite here. Sorry if my typing's not the best. Still recovering from I was polishing a glass and broke it. All right, VectorVest Composite, we're above the moving averages, right? We're not retesting it. Well, we could soon, but we're still well above it, right? So the pressure's not quite as on as you're seeing in the tech-heavy NASDAQ, right? That's where we're seeing the pressure. That's where we're seeing the pressure. Yes, y'all, right? Y'all, I'm going to highlight that one. Y'all, I like it. All right, let's go back to the homepage here. And, let's just go into the stories. We want to go over some stocks today, right? Let's get these stories out the way. All right, first thing here, economic calendar, right? Let's see what's going on this week. Today, not a whole lot. We got the manufacturing survey, some Fed speakers, home builder confidence, nothing crazy. Tomorrow, unemployment data, right? Obviously, with the cracks, some of us are seeing in the economy here. Yes, that's definitely going to be important. But this is where I see the big volatility this week. Inflation, right? Look at this. If we go up here, you see the median forecast in the previous, right? Previous. Oh, where did I go? Wednesday. There we go. Thursday. 3%, right? Forecast 3.1, getting above 3%. It's not going to look, it's not a good thing, right? It's not a good thing. It creeping back up, right? So we'll see what happens from the report. But if it's at 3 or below, we could say below 3, 2.9, that would be good, right? That I could see some enthusiasm for the bulls going forward. All right, earnings this week. Let's talk about earnings this week. Monday, nothing crazy, right? We got Immersion Corporation. Looks like it wasn't confirmed. Some of these weren't either. Tuesday, Lennar. Wednesday, we've got Micron here. That's going to be the big one. That's the one we're going to talk about today, right? Thursday here, we've got Nike, FedEx. But again, it looks like for the most part that, the big tech concerns, they're behind us now, right? So we got Micron. There, any point? What do you mean, eye out? What do you mean by that? So we're going to go over this Micron, and this is where we're going to get to in just a second here. First thing I want to talk about, Fed chair candidacy received pushback from high-level people close to Trump, sources say. So other than CPI, other than AI bubble concerns, right? The changing of the guard, the Fed chair can create some volatility in the short term, right? We'll have to hear exactly what he's saying and what direction he wants to go. Obviously, it might be interest rate cuts. We'll see how that goes. But this is what I want to look at more importantly right now. Micron. And I could have gone to a website, but I actually just like how Google puts it here. And actually, the Google AI, it derived this from Zacks. Just a heads up. So let's talk about Micron. Set to report December 17th after the market close. If you haven't already known, we're going to talk about it Wednesday on the live stream as well. But this is all you need to know about. Volatility. 10% move from the options market, right? So it's either 10% down, 10% up, right? So we're going to look at what that 10% means, see where it's currently trading, and see where price could potentially be after that earnings call, right? Oracle going into earnings overvalued, bringing in some of those fears, right? Broadcom did not settle those fears. Micron, personally, I feel better about because of the valuation. Now, obviously, it's going to be, coupled with the rest of the AI companies, right? So it could feel pressure. But I would be more optimistic about this one going into earnings, more than Oracle, more than Broadcom. And the way I look at value going into earnings, if a stock, Broadcom, Oracle, way overvalued, right? They got to bring something more to the table, right? Get investors enthused. Investors are paying a premium for it for a reason. To be honest, it feels like people are overreacting about Broadcom. Pennywise, I like our valuation. It is trading at a premium right now. So I don't know if they're overreacting or they're actually putting that stock price more into where it should be in line as of today, right? Because stock's been on a run, obviously, with that partnership with TPU. So we'll see. But that's my only concern with Micron, too. It's also been on a run, right? But from a valuation perspective, that run hasn't put Micron in, way overvalued territory, right? So we're going to look at the chart. So I am feeling a little bit more optimistic about Micron. But either way, because I'm not going to guess on it, expect a 10% move, right? 10% move. Now, we're going to focus on strong EPS growth. So we're going to take a look at the forecasted EPS and margin expansion as key drivers for potential stock movement. Strategies like straddles, strangles, again, the options market can move the stock. Broadcom warned of shrinking profit margins. Interesting. All right, but yeah, as far as the market sentiment here, strong optimism due to HBMs, what I've been talking about with them, right? High bandwidth. You know what you need those for? Inferencing. That's like the next stage of, the AI models, right? So you can see the expected move, 10.43%. So we're going to most likely get a big swing on Micron. Not going to, if I just guess, I'd feel a bit more optimistic, but I'm not going to, because of the AI fears and stuff like that. If it does drop, guess what? Could present some opportunities in Micron going forward, especially if you felt like you missed out, right? Let the trade come to you. But look at this, caution. Some suggest caution due to high expectations and recent stock run-up, wanting to see results at the high end of guidance or better to justify current valuations. That's interesting. So let's jump into the software now. We're taking a look at this. Go to viewers. Yeah. We go to midday. Oh, shoot. Did not mean to do that. There we go. Jerome Powell. Oh, no. Not repeating that comment. All right. Let's take a look at Micron here. Expand this out. Auto fit. There we go. Look at the valuation here on Micron, 1.61. Look at the pressure today in the market. The stock's up 1% today. Let's just do this. Let's compare this. AVGO and was it Oracle, right? Oracle. Let's see what these two guys are doing. Let's see here. Broadcom, Oracle sell down, right? The pressure, right? Pressure. Let's add some more to the list. Let's add some more to the list here. Let's add NVIDIA. Let's add some undervalued or fairly valued ones, right? Let's see how they are acting. NVIDIA, look at this, undervalued. TSM undervalued. It's flat. I've been warning y'all for 2 weeks now. If you're in the overvalued tech stocks, be careful. You got to assess it one by one. But the value here seems to make sense, right? The overvalued feeling more pressure. The undervalued, actually 2 or 3 out of the up, right? Now let's expand this a little bit here. Let's add CoreWeave. Now this is a speculative one. Let's add the MBIS. Let's add Iren, I'll save, because that's interesting. Let's add these two. Yeah, don't forget that part. Don't forget that part. All right. Look at this. Really feeling the pressure today. I do not have a crystal ball. But this valuation of VectorVest has been time tested long before I ever traded my first stock, right? So I'm not going to, speculate. Just that is telling me the picture of the market right now. Just this alone is saying, hey, the undervalued, the fairly valued tends to be safer right now. So when you get overvalued, look, negative almost 5%, negative 2%, over 6%, right? So let's get rid of these now that I made my point. So if you're holding way overvalued, just be careful, right? That is why I'm optimistic. Broadcom was overreaction, but CEO gave an opportunity. I like Broadcom. I do. I like AMD. Right? We could throw AMD on here, because that one might be down today. Let's see here. Ever since the ChatGPT deal, oh, it's actually up today. But look, its valuation, that ratio, not quite as extended as some of the others, right? But still, I would pick Micron. I would pick TSM. I would pick NVIDIA over some of these overvalued ones. You got to, I don't know where you bought it at, what your goals are, but just personally right now with the environment that we're in, I like those rather than some of these other ones. So let's delete this, delete AMD. Let's take a look at here. Safety, which does look at the consistency and predictability of the company's financials. Positive rating. That's what I want to see go into earnings, right? Undervalued. You don't have to have such a high bar when you're an undervalued company, right? And if it drops 10%, I'll probably text my mom, but hey, there might be an opportunity on Micron again. Sales growth rate, 46%. Earnings growth rate, 37%. So let's look at Micron here on the chart. Was it trading at 24 bucks? So we'll just say 10%. Easy math, we'll call it 25 bucks, right? That still keeps us above the 200. Yeah, and if it jumps up 10%, clearly, we're going to be in uncharted waters, right? But this is my only concern with Micron right now. Let me actually switch this, make this a little easier for everyone to see. Here's our stop price. Stop price currently 213. So your 244 minus 24 bucks. So about 220. Worst, I'm not going to say worst case, but according to the options market, if we gap down 10%, still above our stop price, right? About $7 above it as of right now. 10% above is going to put us in new highs. But look at the forecasted earnings per share here. This is a 1 year, about to say 1 year, but 12-month leading for it. Ryan, where do you find the value price ratio added? You know why? Because I think I might have created that one. I'm not going to lie. But if you want to, you see here, up here, this little sort window, the primary sort. I'll just go to value divided by price here. I think we might have already had one because it looks like I added a second one, right? So it does look like we have one already, but it does look like I added a second one. But in case there's something there that you don't see that you'd like to see in the sort or customized field, you go to Tools, custom field builder, right? It brings up this window. So just for example, I'll take value, right? Fields, hit the little division button here, which is the / line. Go back to fields. And we'll go price volume, right? Value divided by price. Value divided by price. And then from here, you would just validate, which it was validated, and then save changes. So you can see I already have one. So just keep that in mind. But that is how you create a custom field here. That is how you create a custom field. Again, you just come to here to find it, tools, custom field builder to create it. Of course, and that's important, especially with today's. Hey, I'm glad you asked, right? Oh, you want to see what Marvel's up to? Let's just compare what Marvel. There's another semiconductor. What's Marvel doing here? Scroll over to the right. Look at the ratio. Look at that. Flat, half percent. It's not in the troubled waters like some of those other overvalued ones, right? It's like TSM, pretty much flat today. That's why I'd rather be, as long as they're going to talk about overvalued AI bubble concerns, I want to be in the ones that have some value. That's for sure, especially going to 2026. And both of my semiconductor picks for 2026 are on the value side of things. All right, and you'll get those here soon. Tonight, you'll get one. Saving the other one. All right, so let's go in the chart here. Use stock chart. Look at it. So that ZAC consensus was around $3, right? $3, right? So if we look last year, where are we at? 847. So we're aiming in the right direction. But look now, this is the 12-month leading forecast. This is aiming upwards to $18. So look at the valuation. Let me check out value. Still climbing, $393, right? Let's look at Broadcom here, AVGO. Right? Here's Broadcom. Value's climbing. Again, I've said this in overvalued stocks. I want to see life and value. I want to see an RV above 1. I don't recall Broadcom, so if I had to guess, I'm going to think I would probably guess it probably has an RV above 1, and it does. There we go. Nice. Look at that. Very nice. That's just overvalued. Now look what you see what's happening here. Value's moving up. Price now starting to move down. And honestly, it looks like we just do a little trend line here. And we if the stock needs a pivot rally, this trend line here would be it, in my opinion. So if it doesn't get its act together soon, we break this line, I'd let the stock come to you. Because look, value's rising, price is dropping. So somewhere in the middle, it might meet, right? Maybe $300. We'll see. MU is a tortoise in this race. They will beat them all, I feel. I like Micron, especially, I've mentioned my cousin. I had that conversation with Micron. They're building a whole city of fabs pretty much in mid-state New York, right? $100 billion over the next decade or so. Largest private investment in the state history, right? That is phenomenal. But this one here, we could be entering, well, not entering, it looks like we might be in ascending channel, right? Look at that, little ascending channel. See what happens. Like I said, if we get the pivot, hey, that could be the play. If we do not, we get a break. Have some patience. Value's moving up, price is moving down, right? So let's get back to Micron here. Let's add some other ones. We're going to go to growth rate and earnings. Growth rate on the rise. Let's see here. A year ago, we're in about 32%, hit a high of about 38, just dropped to 37, but still looks good. Still looks good. Oh, Dennis, yes. Yeah, I saw that. I talked about it last week, and trust me, I might be buying that UMI real quick. But yeah, as far as Micron here, I kind of like this. Let me just get rid of these lines. And let's just see something here. I used to do a freehand horizontal line. So 220. If it does move 2 points down, let's go 3 months here. If we're 10% down, it's about $24. Probably, yeah, about 220. Yeah, that'll put us right here area, right? If we get here, we could retest this. Not that worse. not the worst case scenario. If it does gap down 10%, it still doesn't look that, I mean, it doesn't look that bad, at least, from a technical perspective here. And obviously, if it jumps up 10%, we're at new highs. So even if it drops 10%, really not that concerned in the short term here. But look at that value. I'm feeling pretty confident about this one here. Again, I'm not, if you don't own it already, I wouldn't suggest buying it a few days before earnings. That's just very, very risky, right? If you do own it, it's a 10% swing. So you could probably do a covered call, right? On that, right? Interesting. And I would do out of the money covered call on that one. Probably right at about 10% on the upside, right? Let's see here. But yeah, that looks good though, Micron. I like it. The earnings per share is rising. It's just that value. It's nice. All right, two stocks we are going to talk about real quick before we jump over to y'all's picks here. Let's go back to the Qs. First one here, UAMY. We already got them here, right? Let's go 1 year. Oh, wait. Iren will be the first one. So Friday's video, if you watched it, I talked about the consolidation here, right? Look at what we do. We broke out, right? It's coming right where I want it to come, right? This is the level I'm looking at, around $30. If you add our value, boom, you see it's moving up. And if it doesn't pivot here and it breaks it, hey, I'll let it come down even further. But the only reason why I'm a little bit more optimistic there is if I add a 200 day. Well, right now I got the 150. If I do a 200, actually, yeah, the 150 is right at that level, right above it. And then the 200, getting close to it here, right? So I like this area on Iren right now. I do like this area. Let the trade come to you. And if you're in it, I'm not saying anything bullish right now. So that's your one warning. Here's UAMY. Let's go to 1 year. It's been in this ascending channel for quite some time here. If I go to 6 months, let's zoom in here, see it better. Let's get rid of volume. All right, yeah, look at value, 507. What was the low today? 507. You finally have a fair price on UAMY, right? But the price pressure is still on when it comes to the stock. So I'm not going to be buying it today. I will say there's a little level right here from about 511, which we're just hitting the top of right now. Could be potential support. 416, right? I'm not going to be a buyer of it today. I like this. I like what I'm seeing. I definitely like what I'm seeing when it comes to the stock, though. I mean, this could be a monster trade setup in the making, just like Iren, right? Stay disciplined if it doesn't come together. But this channel that it has been in for quite some time, if I just scroll back here, right? See the channel? Boom, 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 boom. Still in the channel. Obviously, I've been watching the stock quite a bit here. Been in this channel this whole time. So these lines are pretty important. So don't forget, and I said in the video, don't forget about this little line, right? I think I can get in the fours. Oh, move that up a little bit more. I'll have to fix that line. There we go. Coming off this low right here. That's what I wanted to touch. See, I'm not jumping in it right now, but this stock is definitely on my radar. Definitely on my radar, along with Iren. I like those two trade setups. All right, it's 12:33 here. Hit that like button because we are going to go off Glenn's 10. Every 10 likes, you get one stock pick here. We're going to do that in just a moment. See your empty watch list. Yeah. The other thing I want to look at here, if I go to my watch list, because these are a bunch of stocks that we talk about on this channel. Let's do this. Let's do the value divided by price thing again. Scroll over to the right here. Iren, look at this. Valued $9.78, trading at $4 currently. Interesting. WeMe undervalued, but the pressure is there with all of these stocks here. Even the overvalued ones, you can see the pressure on a little bit more. You can see RR, Rich Tech Robotics down 10%. American Resources here down 8%. If we scroll to the top, so the undervalued ones, you see how the percent changes are less Then the overvalued ones, we got 8, 7, 11, 5, 7, 7, 6. We go to the top, 1, 1, 4, 3. Again, do you see the point I'm trying to make? If you're in overvalued positions, be careful, right? Be careful. That's all I'm going to say. Should be hitting the like button long before prompted because you like it. Thank you, Keith. Thank you. Market looks like it's heading down for a few days. Wait for it to bottom. Canaan is in this list right here. CAN, there it was. Did I take it out? I might have to. No, it's right here. 102. This one, just be careful. This is, I think a Chinese-based crypto miner. Now they're based out of Hong Kong, Singapore. Undervalued, but look, the pressure's on. And just curious, look it up real quick. Bitcoin still feeling the pressure here. Currently what, 89,000 or 86,000? So it's dropping, right? Just look at this. I've been telling you, you got anything crypto related, be careful because this is not what you want, right? Boom, 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 right? Look at that short, 96. Who called, if you're going to short the Bitcoin, the 96, I think it's what, 90, I think my range was like 94 to 98. I still like it. I still like it in the short term, right? Still like it in the short term. We'll see what happens in the long term with Bitcoin, but I still like it. All right, let's get out of here. And obviously, yes, I did have to look up the name of that song. Don't forget the song. But yeah, so that's the point. Look, Seals Corp here, LES down almost 5%, just overvalued. That's quantum play here. Robotics feeling the pressure quite a bit. Poet. A lot of these stocks I like, I don't want them to come to me. I'm not going to jump in these guys right now. Nothing is telling me I should do so. Now, if we go to the homepage here, look at the confirmed call. It never went up. So the primary wave, it's for my very aggressive, probably very active trader, right? We're still up in that situation. DEW, that's my swing traders, right? I think we're still in a DEW up situation. Let's take a look at that, actually. Here's the VectorVest composite. Switch this here. Pro Trader timing DEW layout. Yeah, we're still in a DEW up signal, right? Still in a DEW up signal. DPO still up, still above the 30-day weighted moving average. I like this 30-day weighted moving average has moved towards the top of my support zone, giving me some optimism there. But yeah, you see, we're at session lows right now, so be careful. If we look at the Qs, we did talk about this a couple weeks ago. I mean, 2 weeks ago, if my memory is correctly. But if we go to the Qs, because I've seen customers do this before, right? They'll put the DEW stuff on Qs or stock or something. The Qs tends to be pretty popular. SPY tends to be popular amongst customers as well here. Price action, we just broke that 30-day weighted moving average, right? I told you on the Qs, we got a little pinch in some of those moving averages. But look at the DPO. Barely holding on here, right? So if this goes negative by the DEW metrics on the Qs, that would give you some warning here. And you can see, just generally speaking here, pretty well, right? Keeping you in the trade, the DPO, the 30-day weighted moving average, right? Now, if it breaks it, clearly, you see that here. But the DPO, look at this, kept us in it. DPO is positive, right? But here, finally did show us a little bit of weakness. But the next day, went right back up. Now, if we go to the beginning of 2025, more of the the tariff situation. You can see the sell-off here, that break in it. DPO, well below negative. So it does a pretty good job. Keep you on the right side of the Qs here. And right now we're just seeing some weakness here, but definitely that DPO goes back below 1. That would be a big concern for me. Definitely a big concern. Now we do, me and Joey, we do have a paycheck meeting. So we're going to be launching the paycheck core, the options paycheck course. If you want to learn about options, that stuff's going to be available in 2026. And a lot of people here watching have, gone through these courses before. It's actually how I started to learn, it's about options. Oh, see, that was probably 2017. I took the course for the first time. And then I really didn't brush up on my option skills to about 2020, 2021. All right, but looking at this here again, that's the pressure. All right, let's go to midday. Let's see, midday market update. Your picks. Empty watch list here. How many likes we got? Oh, there we go. All right. Last few seconds to hit that like button. Looks like we're going to have 8 stocks right now. So the first 8 to come across, first 8 going to be that we're going to take a look at today. And that's going to be from right now. It's always good to know your options. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Lumen. Okay. All right. Looks like we got 8 real quick. PSIX, HL, AMKR, ANPMF, CY. Interesting. Nike's got earnings. That'll be an honorable mention. I won't consider that one. I gotta put the ticker symbol in right though. So NKE will be honorable mention. Cecil. Oh wait, no. ADMA was the next one. ADMA. All right, actually threw in a couple more likes there in the meantime. So let's see here. Cecil will make the list. All right, my Band-Aid. It's hard to type. NKE. All right, there we go. All right, we've got 9. Let's see what we got here. ADMA. Let's expand this out. AutoFit. Look at this. Undervalued. Look at the gold, though. Look at these are up today. I'm not surprised by that. As long as you see more and more AI bubble fears in the market, I think gold will probably be, I don't know if it's a complete safe haven, but probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have, some exposure. And hopefully everyone's got some exposure at this point. I've only done maybe 30 videos on gold this year. Continue to rise clearly even to today's session. Let's see here. We got 4 buy rated stocks at the top. This is the overvalued one. Take a look at this one as well. See if at least the forecasted data can get us excited. Not too excited. 7, -6% respectively here. Lumen Tech. Let's see. Let me scroll back down. Does Nike pay a dividend? Yes. I'm almost positive Nike would pay a dividend. Yeah, there it is right there. The dividend safety, 43. Dividend growth, 12%. Nice. Yeah, so it looks like a pretty good dividend paying stock, actually. Yeah, silver. Yeah. Silver, gold. I'm telling you right now, the rare earths, most of those stocks got pushed to astronomical levels, right? However, while a lot of these come back, the market might, misprice some of those rare earth and critical minerals and things like that. Bringing some opportunities. UAMY is the opportunity we're talking about right now, right? And if you didn't sell your UAMY at 20 bucks, or at least put a covered call on it, maybe by 15 or 14 for sure after that big red candlestick. Obviously we don't want it to go back to 20 at some point, right? We'll see. But that value keeps on climbing. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's see here. They can provide stock picks real quick, but they are not as fast on the like button. Thank you, Tabula. Thank you, Tabula. Now let's take a look at these charts here. Still looks good on Hecla Mining. And just the first little pivot I see is going to be from the swing high here. Haven't quite touched that yet. We might touch that. But you can see each little dip on gold has been a good one, right? I said I trust a dip on gold and silver much more than I do tech right now. Look at that. Interesting. That looks good. Let's switch this layout, though. Let's do VectorVest Simple. RT relative timing. If I just take a look at RT, this is a good sign. Look at this. Higher lows, right? That's good. I like to see that. Rising earnings per share. Let's see the value here. Undervalued. Value keeps rocking and rolling. Let's just take a look at earnings growth rate. Maybe I'll add that. We want a company that can grow their earnings. Look at 38%. Phenomenal stock. I mean, you're getting the safety of gold, but you're getting some of the fundamental analysis of a growth stock, right? Look at 38%. Nice. Here's another precious metal one. Look at that. Nice little handle here. Maybe a cup and handle kind of thing. Not the prettiest cup. Or even a double bottom chart formation. So either way, there's the bottom. There's the top, right? So what am I going to do? Put a little line here, a little freehand line. It's exactly what I did to Bitcoin last fall, right? When it was around 60, 70,000. It was 60,000. That cup and handle, and it jumped already 120, right? Look at this. Boom, boom, boom. Pretty close to it. And that target from this chart pattern here, if it comes to fruition, about 852, right? Today's high, 777. So there's still a little bit of room to the upside, potentially, if that does come to fruition here. But you got double bottom. Yeah, maybe a little sloppy of a cup. I do like this little handle formation made right here. So it looks good. Fundamentals look good. I like it. Clearly, I'm looking at this one. Bring this down. Boom, 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 boom. Look at that. Broke it. Ooh, that's nice. I'm not going to lie. That's a nice one. I like this pivot. Look at this. Retest. That is a perfect trade right here. Undervalued too. I do like that. Let's see. Let's do this little line right here. Yeah, that's the resistance coming into play. Yeah, that's okay. Maybe it might come back down to this level here. Try to find a pivot. There we go. Probably see some consolidation, which we're seeing right now from these levels. But look, hey, value is dropping, price is dropping. But right now, if we go to 6 months, let's go to three months actually. See price turning around. Look at value also turning around. So value can turn around a little bit more. Hey, not bad. But as of right now, I like what I see here. Just be careful if it breaks much below the 1878. Could feel a little bit of pain on the downside. Not saying that the trade is over, but you could feel a little pain in the short term, right? But I do like that value. Growth rate earnings, it's still high, but you see that growth rate just falling and falling. I'm glad earnings per share is rising though. It looks good. No, I do like this stock. I do like this. And that pivot, that anchor there on the retest of that trend line, I like it. But the next leg up, let's just break out of this consolidation, break out to the upside if you haven't already got into this one here. But that's a good one. All right, semiconductor. This one's way overvalued. Earnings per share is dropping. What is this company doing? Because they're doing something. The stock went from 20 bucks to 45. If I had to guess, I wonder if this is a domestic fab. Maybe it's just running off some momentum, some news. But just be careful. The value is actually moving in the wrong direction. You know, from this little swing high up here. It's about, what is this? What was value here? 16. Yeah, around 16 in this area. Right now, we're at XC dropped 15 to 69. So be careful. Yes. Okay. So yeah, that's why I had a feeling. You know, they probably got some contract. You know, maybe see DOD's got a, you know, some. I don't know the news behind this, but just logically thinking, I'm going to treat it like a rare earth, right? All the news decoupling from China. You know, this stock, the traders just took it astronomical levels, but the value's not there. The growth rate's not there, right? Growth rate's actually negative. So you got to read the story. You got to do your research there. But as far as staying in it, I'd look for that retest. You got to ask yourself if you want to drop back down here or sell it and maybe catch the pivot. If it pivots, you know, stay disciplined. But if it breaks much below 38, I'd be careful because right below that's going to be our sell recommendation, our stop. It's coming in around 36 right now. AMKR is in, semi-package. Okay, gotcha. Well, I know Intel is really trying to pivot into the packaging deal. So be careful with this one, though, just because that valuation scares me. I'd stick more to the technicals. How in the world, VV, so off on valuation for MU? We ain't off, bud. We ain't off. I'm going to prove my point. You can prove my point. I ain't even going to wait. I'll prove it right now. I got a meeting to go to. Here. Actually, you know, we'll just say, I'll make my point real quick, real easy. Yes. Boom, 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 boom. Let's do this. Let's do 3 months, right? So yeah, this is a couple months ago. This was in April. Look at our evaluation. Oh, wait. Right? Evaluation here. Around this time. Was what? Between 140, 160. We'll split it. We'll say around 150, right? Watch that line. You better watch that line, especially the one who answered the question or asked the question. Oh, it's off? Because I'm pretty sure the market just took where our value was in the back, right? Look at it. As long as they're rising, right? So what's wrong? Our valuation or the market? right? I'm going to tell you right now, that valuation is legit. Legit. All right. Your point made, right? Point made, right? You know, if Micron hits $400 next year, I'm not saying, you know, it's a sure thing and, you know, nothing in life is for sure, but I'm not going to be too shocked as long as the AI bubble concerns don't get out of control, because that could obviously spill over into Micron, right? But this one here, let's go to 1 year. You have daily videos in December. Yeah, to 6 p.m. Yeah. The holidays, you know, obviously we won't be having them, but, you know, other than that, we'll still have them. I think MU is really a $400 stock. Yeah, I do too. And guess what? If MU was trading at a premium at $500 one day, I'll be real happy. I got, well, I'm not gonna say but I've talked about it a lot, you know. But again, you gotta stay disciplined, right? Because trust me, Nvidia's had its, you know, high max drawdowns too. You know, I remember when Nvidia was 150 and it dropped to 80. That was only a year ago. So just be careful, right? I'm not saying Micron can't drop. I'm not saying that at all. But from fundamentally, I like it a lot better than some of the other ones, right? Especially that other semiconductor, the domestic one, that the valuation just going down. Just be careful. 2025 was Broadcom year. 2026 be MU year. I don't know. I think they both had a good year this year, right? But looking at this one here, I just need to stay above 92. Stay above 92. But look, it's a drug company. I don't really like drug companies, but I'm going to be in one because they tend to be volatile. I'd like to be in one that's undervalued, value is rising, earnings per share is rising, growth rate is rising, right? Now, if you break below this line here, you know, you're going to probably end up back in this consolidation, right? We'll see what happens. But I like this stock. You know, fundamentally, earnings-wise, value-wise, that's the kind of drug company I would like to be in. Now, here's Power Solutions. This is a machinery company here. Look at that value ticking up, right? You can see the earnings here. This is probably earnings if I had to guess. Yep, definitely earnings here. Again. So that's funny. Look, the market dropped the price, but look at the VectorVest software. And as soon as we came back down, look, we got a gap fill here. So who's wrong? The people who decided to pull the stock back or our value, right? You know, time will tell, but you see price action starting to go back. So we'll see. U12, I made VV. What do you mean by that, Ryan? How about a live stream looking at VectorVest value versus stock price and see how undervalued perform? That's a good idea. I really like that one. I'm just kidding. Yeah, Ollie G, are you a paid subscriber? Do you use VectorVest 7, Ollie G? I'm just curious. But this is interesting. Because if we break this swing high here, we got a gap to fill. Value's rising. Look at the earnings per share actually ticked up since earnings, you know, since the gap down. Growth rate, it's dropping, but still at 30% here. I like this. I mean, this is phenomenal here. Now, obviously, if we get rejection here, you know, the traders could put in troubled waters. But I'd like to get this gap fill done and over with, right? That would be the short-term trade. We'll see what happens. But I like that. I just, you know, value, EPS, don't overthink it. Here's Cecil. Look at the value. Look at this. The stock way overvalued. Here's another perfect example of our valuation, right? Look at this. There's the hype. That's all hype. That's all that is. That's people, you know, like myself, just trading, pushing it up, right? Pushing it up, right? And then it goes, and then earnings was the reality check here, right? Drop right back down, valuation. Now it's undervalued. I like it. And if I had to guess, this whole little pullback here is probably leaving a sour taste in investors' mouths right now. So that's probably why you're seeing this little rejection here. You can see the bottom wick right here. That's right where the rejection was. So be careful. I like the trade. Or sorry, I don't like the trade. I like the stock. Probably might be a little bit bearish. If I am looking for a catch on the bottom here, I'd probably look for this consolidation right here. Somewhere in that level. Let's see here. With so many stocks to choose from, why not buy undervalued for most of them? I agree with you. You know, I get there's some trading opportunities in overvalued stocks, right? That's usually why investors are willing to pay in premium, right? It's not because of the valuations, because the stock's making the money right now, right? And once that part is done, it could look something like this, right? It could look something just like this. So just be careful. You know. All right, here's Nike. I'm just going to say way overvalued. And, you know, obviously the tariffs, you know, good luck trying not to talk about that on the earnings call this week. Pay the dividend, right? It's paying a dividend. Went from 80, 67 here. But look at the values dropping, earnings per share dropping, growth rate dropping, -7%. Stick to the software. And just looking at this analysis here, fundamentally, no. See, the RT just got back above 1 on technicals, but that momentum, very weak right now. Yes, it's in favor of the bulls. It's 1.08. It's not very strong. On this position here, obviously someone mentioned dividends. So it's probably more of a longer term. But in the short term, just stay above this, right? Just stay above that. Actually looks like a ascending channel. A little bit of ascending channel there. Boom. That's how you can trade in the short term. Long term, again, I'm in the boat with John and Pennywise. I like undervalued stocks. I know the dividend here. You got to weigh that, the pro and con of that dividend yourself. But I like the undervalued idea. And John and Pennywise, just curious, how long have you guys been using VectorVest? I'm just wondering if it's longer than I've been here. Because I know a lot of customers I've talked to have been using this program long before I got here. As far as this stock here, boom, boom, boom. Look at that. Boom, boom, boom. There it is. That's the trade right there. Boom, boom, boom. You can see the volatility spreading. When these lines spread, I tend to, you could see the trade right there. So kind of like, I think it was the Qs this morning showing that. So you can see the volatility ticking up here, right? But this morning, obviously with the fears, right? It's the only reason why I held on to it this so long. Otherwise, I would, instead of 40% today on today's trade, it would have been, I think, 108%. But I sold 2 contracts. I had 6. So I let 4. I was hoping for a pivot here and maybe catch the up end of this, little Santa Claus optimism, but it just didn't happen, right? And look, this is where discipline comes in, because I guarantee you this contract I bought probably might be worth, it might be like 5 cents right now. I'm going to look at it, but I'm glad I sold it right here. Stay disciplined, especially if you plan on doing this kind of stuff, right? All right, but as far as this, as long as it stays above this trend line, we're good. But honestly, this was probably your trading. If you didn't take profits up here as a trader, at least some off the table, I don't know what to say at this point. Just make sure it stays above the bottom trend line. Because look, valuation, the earnings per share is negative, growth rate negative. That's not what's going to get me excited about this stock. That's for sure. Let's see here. Mike says 26 years since 1999. Woo! You play since 2009. I started with VectorVest in 97, then signed up and have been with VectorVest since 2000, John. Awesome. I know you guys have been around here a while. And I've talked to our customers. I'm going to tell you right now. Most people that sign up for VectorVest, you know why they drop the ball? Because A, they don't have time to put in the software, or B, they don't want to put that time to learn it and do it themselves, right? That's why a lot of people use a financial advisor, right? Or start doing it themselves. And it might end up good, it might end up bad, right? I'm not going to say any, just because someone doesn't use VectorVest, they can't be successful, but it really does help investors. It helps get the noise out of there, right? Think about all the noise right now. It's the valuation, right? And just looking at our valuations, looking at this percent price changes, looking at the ones that are really getting hit today, it's strengthening my cause for valuation here. It's really strengthening my cause. All right. I think that's it. Here. My kids say pretty soon I will be with VectorVest longer than I haven't. When Steve Chappell started, neither of us had any gray hair. Wow. John Boss says timing is the most important thing. Timing is the most important thing, right? Because think about it. I like UAMY. I like Iren. I like stocks. I like AMD. Now hasn't been the time. Well, UAMY might be getting close. But again, my advisor was awful. That's why I got VectorVest. You know why I've stuck with VectorVest so long? I love this company to death because my mom in 2008 had a financial advisor. Let me tell you, that financial advisor didn't help her at all. And there were plenty of warning signs, right? Where she could have pulled that money out way ahead of the time, right? So anytime you see that confirmed down signal, like we are in now, and it's been a while, and it's been a couple weeks, so it's not just a little flutter. I know sometimes, little chart pattern, technical, something might just trigger a little signal for a day or two. But we've had it sustain, right? We need a Ryan hair vote. Like, Joey, let's do it. One last poll, and we're out of here. Should Ryan have hair in 2026? Shaved or head of hair? Shaved or head of hair? All right. I don't know. Joey, we got time for that poll? If he can put it up, we can. If not, we're about to roll out here in just a second. What time is it? Because we got that meeting at 1 o'clock. We got to roll. All right. We're going to do that next time. We'll do it next time. Everyone, have a wonderful day. We're going to talk about the options paycheck. If you haven't taken it yet, definitely check it out this year. It's really changed my investing. I'm sure it's done for a lot of people as well. TR for Ryan. Thank you, Kara. You guys have a good afternoon.